Hey guys, it's Beck here with another video. I wanted to make my topic today be reasons why I think I'm trans. Well, I already know I'm trans, I came out, but these were the reasons that I wrote out in my little journal here. And I just want to kind of go through them. I haven't read through them since I wrote it. I just added to it as I thought of different things that just made sense for my trans masc identity. So I'm just going to go through it and see what they say. So the first thing I have written down here is a memory I have of like taking a shower, and I put my towel around my waist like I saw my dad do. And he told me that one day I would have to put my towel, this was like when I was 7 years old, put my towel around my chest. And I was like, why would I do that? And he was like, well, because your chest will be different. And I was, obviously very flat. I was 7. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem like something that will happen. I don't have to worry about that. I'll just keep wearing it on my waist. The next thing I have is I was more interested in copying my dad than my mom. So my dad just seemed like the person that I would look to as to how to act and what to do. And I'd always be more interested in helping him with things than helping my mom with things. I always felt bad that I didn't really help my mom cook and clean. We had sort of a traditional household when I was growing up. So even though they both worked, my mom definitely did all of the cooking and cleaning and taking care of stuff around the house. And then my dad was more fixing things, mowing the lawn, taking care of man stuff, fixing the cars, things like that. So I would mostly want to hang out with my dad when he was doing his man stuff, then go and help my mom like bake something. Even though I am like a good baker and a decent cook, I pretty much, was a woman, obviously, my whole life. So I did learn how to do all of those things. So it's kind of nice because I kind of have aspects of both, which is kind of cool. But I didn't really learn how to do a lot of man stuff. Like, I don't know how to change my oil, and I never really cut the lawn. But I would sit there and like be and watch my dad do these things, and sometimes some things I would learn and pick up along the way. Alright, the next thing I have is in 3rd grade. I kind of have like had a pre-puberty time where I got bigger because I gained weight because it was like emotional eating around like 9 years old, and my chest got bigger and I had to start wearing like a training bra because it was like showing and it looked like little like I had a chest forming. And I just remember feeling so uncomfortable in my body. I had to go shopping for Easter clothes, and I went with my dad, and I didn't know what sizes to get. Everything felt tight and uncomfortable, and I just remember not having a good time and it being kind of traumatic for me because I just had no idea why my body was so different than it was like a year before that. And I don't even know why I started emotional eating. That's probably another layer we don't need to get into right now, but all I know is I was experimenting a lot with food and I had a lot of time to myself because my parents both worked. So, usually one was home with me, but my dad would work at night, so he sometimes was sleeping and stuff. So I'd be like home and just eat all kinds of weird snacks. Like I'd microwave marshmallows with chocolate and make like s'mores and stuff. So I just like ate a lot. I don't know if I was just bored or I don't know. That's a whole another thing. The next one was when I got my period. Not to be TMI, but the blood was like dark blood, like brown. And the whole day I was freaking out that I was somehow crapping myself, even though I knew I wasn't. I was just like so confused. I had no idea what this could possibly be, especially since it wasn't like red like blood. Like every time I watch a show and some younger girl gets her period in the show, I'm always like, it was just regular blood. Did anyone else have this experience where it came out as like brown blood Did anyone else experience this? And then I just remember crying and feeling like the pad felt like a mattress on me. Like I was so uncomfortable. And I'm sure plenty of young girls felt this way when they got their period. But for me, it just felt completely unnatural. And I just like didn't even know how to put in a tampon at all. Like I did not wear tampons until I was a junior in college. Like I had no idea how that worked. I had to wear one like once for at a swimming party, and I just cried and I felt so uncomfortable because I probably put it in wrong. It was horrible. But then when I got my period, my mom gave me a big like super pad for nighttime, for like bedtime, and I was just like, this feels like a diaper. This is so uncomfortable. And then my cousin, who was younger than me, said, now you can have babies. And I just remember that making me cry even more. I think I was about 11 or 12 when I got my period, but it was just like horrible experience. Oh, there was one time where I was trying to put a tampon in, and I was older, like maybe in high school, and I almost fainted I was sitting on the toilet while doing it, and I like completely lost all, like I went white as a sheet, and I almost fainted onto the bathroom floor because figuring out or just putting it in general just completely freaked me out. Like, did not go well at all. Oh, I had a deep fear of being pregnant. All through high school, just dating someone, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get pregnant. I did have sex when I was 17 with my high school boyfriend. That was like the longest term dating. And we were very careful. We used protection in all ways. I was on birth control and then protection as well. But I would just constantly think I was pregnant. I always thought that I was going to be pregnant somehow, and I would freak out about it. Like I would just stress myself out so much that I would have pregnancy symptoms. It was crazy. And with my most recent relationship, where we were together quite a long time, I was still on birth control, like 90% of the relationship, so I didn't worry about it as much anymore, but I still would always be like, I really hope I never get pregnant. He would want to get me pregnant and have babies with me, and I would just feel sick to my stomach. And like everyone in my family used to joke and be like saying that my mom would have to take over if I was ever to give birth, because I just would get pale and just not even like conceptualize how I could possibly do something like that. Like how you could grow a human inside of you and then give birth to it. And like those videos you had to watch in health class, like when you saw like a woman giving birth, like I was always fainting almost in health class. I had to always close my eyes because everything grossed me out. But just like the anatomy of a woman and me having it, it didn't align. Like it didn't make any sense to me. Like I was like, how can I be a woman, but I hate the idea of doing what my body is meant to do. Like I know all women don't want to give birth, don't want to have kids, and that's a normal thing, and it's getting more normal now to have that opinion, but it just didn't seem like something that my body was even capable of doing. Like it felt so against. I just would always just have this deep fear and just I just felt sick thinking about it. So it just never felt like something I could do. And then when I told everyone a couple years ago that I wasn't going to have kids and that I'd made that decision for myself, there was still like that, well, you might change your mind, blah, blah. But when I said it out loud, I was like, no, I'm not going to be changing my mind. Like, if I do have a kid, it's not going to be because I birthed it, is basically, like, it's just not. And it's funny because I have pretty big hips. Everyone's like, oh, you have such big birthing hips. They're perfect for giving birth. And I'd be like, so no. I've already said this before, but my birth name is Rebecca, and I went by Becky most of my life. I went through a phase like in adulthood where I was like, no, I'm Rebecca. Call me Rebecca, because I do in general like that name. But all of a sudden this year, especially, like my family, my nickname has always been Becky or Beck. My dad calls me Beck. A few of my cousins call me Beck. Like, that's just been like a general nickname. My mom called me Beck. I keep calling my mom in like past tense because she did pass away in 2017 from cancer. So I just want to put that out there because I don't want to cause any confusion. But my dad is still here. But Beck just like made sense all of a sudden this year. I was like, yeah, call me Beck. Like, that is the name that I'm resonating with. Rebecca and Becky just don't work. And today I had a moment with myself because when I was young, all throughout my childhood into adulthood, my mom would always tell me, her dad's name was Robert and he passed away before I was born, and she would say, if you were a boy, I would have named you Robert. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I've said it to my dad recently, and it's just been kind of marinating up in there, and I've been resonating with it. So low-key, I think my name is Robert, for real. I believe that I'm going to be changing my entire name, like first, middle, last. Like, I kind of enjoy the idea of Beck being my last name, but we'll see. But I've always liked the name Robbie, so kind of feeling like a Robbie. I don't like Bob. Like, no, not Bob. Bobby's kind of cute. But yeah, I might be Robert. Robert might be my name, so that's cool. So I'm glad I talked about that. And then I pretty much stopped resonating with all of my feminine clothes, jewelry, everything. Like I said in a previous video, there was a time where I was mixing and matching, and like I made this button necklace and I really like how it looks in a masculine vibe, so I'm still gonna be wearing a few things that some men might consider more feminine, but for me it feels very masculine. But for the most part, I'm pretty much wanting to wear masculine clothes and not really feeling in any of my feminine clothes anymore. Like, I have donated or sold pretty much everything, and I could go through my closet again and get rid of a whole chunk because I have a lot of pants I need to get rid of and some tops and sweaters that I just know that I'm not gonna be comfortable wearing. So I stopped shaving my legs like last year. It might have been around this time, maybe a little bit into the summer. And I have never had a good time shaving my legs. Ever. Any body hair, armpits, that area. I just have always broken out into rashes, gotten all sorts of razor bumps and ingrown hairs, and they would just itch and itch. It didn't matter how much lotion I would put on. It just would drive me absolutely insane. I remember in like middle school, one of the girls in volleyball, I had started shaving the bottom, like my, not my thighs, but my main part of my leg, because I was of age to do it, I guess, and I just thought, okay, I guess I should shave my legs. My mom was like against it, which I should have just listened to her, but I started shaving the bottom half of my legs. And then I was in volleyball and this girl was like, your thighs are so hairy, blah blah. And I have really light hair, like the bottom of my legs, it grows in a little darker, but my thighs are like really light and blonde, like you can barely tell. It's just like hairy. And so I went home and shaved my thighs, and I would just be so uncomfortable because they would itch and itch and itch. And then I stopped shaving my armpits around the same time I stopped shaving my legs, and that was really something that just naturally happened. I didn't even have to think about it, and I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm never gonna shave my legs again. And now I went a whole summer like that and did not care, and it's been great. And then armpits, same thing. I really don't care. And I also stopped wearing a bra completely, like maybe a year and a half ago, and I don't give a crap. Like, I walk around, they bounce around and stuff. Like, I now that I'm dressing more masculine too, it's really like even more covered up because I'm not super big chested, and they are like weird. Like, I've always considered my boobs to be kind of weird because I have a big area here that's just flat, like huge, like it's like this much, and then they're like east west, and one is like way bigger than the other, which I know some people, most women have that where it's like one is slightly bigger than the other, but mine are like really wonky and like they just look very different. And so I remember having like thoughts of, if I ever had to get rid of them, I'd be okay with it, which is like, what woman thinks that, you know, unless you're trans. Like, so I've just always had that going on, and the fact that I just stopped wearing a bra and stopped caring if they like bounced around or anything, it was something I just became comfortable with, like, pretty easily. I just stopped wearing a bra completely. I was like, I hate this. I hate wearing it. Even bralettes were driving me nuts. Sometimes I'll still wear like a bra top, and a couple of them that I have almost remind me of like what a binder would be like. So I kept those just in case I really want to like start binding myself, but for the most part I've been fine with just wearing an undershirt and layers, and now that it's like getting colder out, it's even better, especially now that I've come out. Makeup has never been my strong suit. I've struggled with makeup. I was never good at doing makeup. I have like my eyes like tilt down and they're a little hooded, so anytime I try to do any kind of liner, it didn't even matter if I like went up more or whatever, I always looked sad and like everything would make my eyes turn red, and like I would just I'd look like I was smoking or something. Like I just had bright red eyes, and I would have to be very natural with my makeup and just do it very lightly, and it felt like such a chore. I would have fun doing it sometimes because I'm kind of artsy as a person, but for the most part, like the idea of putting on makeup every single day and then washing it off every single day, like when I worked with a lot of girly girls, I'd be like, how do you do this every single day? Like I would do it on like special occasions, and then I would usually start a job and put my makeup on every single day, but eventually I would just stop doing that because it would just be too much for me. And honestly, my skin was always so sensitive, and I didn't really mesh well with a lot of products, so it was really hard for me to find things that worked. And I did end up wearing mascara a lot, but it really would mess with my eyes. Like just thinking about it, I'm like, my eyes are tearing up. But I did enjoy doing like my eyebrows, so I would always do my eyebrows, and that would be pretty much it. I would just like fill in my brows. So I think I'm gonna start doing that again just as I'm transitioning, because I really like having that like boy brow look. And I used to get my eyebrows waxed and stuff, and I completely stopped, and I really like how they look naturally. And I kind of had a unibrow when I was younger and over plucked them because another girl, of course, in school made fun of me for it. It's just light in the middle. It doesn't really show as like a unibrow. It's just like light hair. And I also always had sideburns and like long hair sideburns, and people would make fun of me for those as well. Like one of my friends in middle school, their mom was a hairdresser, and she took like gel to like push them back because I looked like I'm like a boy. I looked like I had like mutton chops, they would say, or big sideburns, big pork chop sideburns. I don't know if that's a thing, but it was kind of ridiculous. And I just kind of looked at them like, that's just how my hair is. What am I supposed to do? I really didn't do anything about it, which I'm glad, because I overplucked my brows, I shaved my legs, but with that I just was like, that's too far. I'm not going to be shaving my sideburns off. Like that's too much, because then if they grew in, it would look like little spiky hairs, so I would have to do that constantly. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't. I just let them be. And then now that I got my hair cut, I really like how that looks. Like that fade, it looks so good. Super happy. Okay, what do we got next? Hair, same thing. I could never do my hair. My mom couldn't do my hair. None of the women in my family knew how to braid. We could barely do ponytails and pigtails. Like it was rough. So I could never figure out how to use hair tools. I'd always buy a bunch of hair tools and try to use them, but I never wanted to. My hair was curly for a good part of my life, and then it went like completely stick straight, and then it was like wavy, and now it's kind of back to curly. It like looks really cute right now, I think. Like it's kind of just a wave going on, but there's curls in there now, and I just scrunch my hair before I even got a cut. Scrunch it with some product and use a microfiber towel and call a day, like air dry. I don't even like it blow drying my hair. I can't stand sitting there waiting for it to dry. I get so like antsy, I can't do it. So I just stopped really doing anything to my hair, even when I was like had long hair, and it was just so hard for me to want to do anything to it. Like, I'm just never been that type of person, and it's because I'm a guy, you know? Like, what guy wants to sit there and do his hair for a long time? It sounds horrible. There probably are guys, but you know what I mean. I would do the dermaplaning because my hair is naturally fuzzy. I have peach fuzz, like a lot of it. And my best friend or me, I would dermaplane, and I would just, like, I have acne right now and I've been struggling with it for a while, but I would just break out in an instant right after dermaplane. Like, most people get clearer skin from dermaplane. Most women experience clearer skin and even texture. Turned me into a goblin. Like, just, I wasn't supposed to be doing it because my face is supposed to be naturally hairy because I'm trans. Makes sense. Oh, I also have like inappropriate body hair for a woman. Like, I've always had a happy trail going on and some like on my chest. And I did mention this, I believe, in another video where I was diagnosed with PCOS and I am in remission, but the PCOS symptoms and being trans, it just aligns for me, the body hair part of it, because I've had that my whole life. Like, literally, I used to get made fun of if I didn't pluck my happy trail belly button area, and right now it is so, like, I've just let it be and it is so hairy, and I'm like, looks great. I don't even have to do anything. It's already there. It's been like that my whole life. I've just been plucking out the hairs, and now I don't have to. I did mention this in another video that I have a little girl voice. I've been talking pretty low in my YouTube videos, and I like that because it's really feeling more gender affirmed for me, but my niceties voice is definitely more of a little girl sounding. I would just say I sound like a 5-year-old, and anytime I'd hear myself recorded, I would just like cringe inside because I just didn't like it. And it's like, why? If you're a girl, so what if you sound younger? Doesn't matter, but makes sense for what I'm going through. Anytime anyone calls me a she, ma'am, her, a girl, woman, lady, I'm just like, no, that's not me. Like, more and more as I'm opening up about everything, I'm getting more comfortable with the ideas of he and him, but for now I'm still they, them. That just does sound the best right now, and any time I hear a she, I'm just like, oh, there was like a time when I was coming out as queer where I would think about being called a lesbian, or like, you know, thinking about being like a masc lesbian, and it just never sounded right to me. It never made any sense. I was like, no, that's not what I am. That's not it. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's not that. So that's why I was going with like the gender fluid, but now that I'm come full circle here, it's all making a lot more sense. Okay, so this is the thing. I went to school at a very small school. So it was like 4th grade to 8th grade. That's when we moved to Wisconsin when I was younger. All of the class, it was just me and another girl. And then there was like 11 of us, and the rest were boys. And the girl, I did not get along with her. I didn't like hanging out with her. She left school in like 6th grade, and I was happy. And it was just me and the guys. And I enjoyed that environment very much. I feel like most young girls would not enjoy that. They would want to have more girl peers to socialize with. But I felt very comfortable in that environment. I enjoyed being around the guys, and I've also noticed about myself as I think about and reflect on things that a lot of guys that I would talk to, it would seem like I was flirting with them, but really I was just like interested in them, maybe jealous of their look, their vibe, wanted to be their friend as like a guy. And presenting as a woman, I didn't know how to be friends with guys, I guess. Like, I wanted to, but it was just like a weird thing. I had a lot of jealous exes, and I wasn't sure if I had a crush on them or if I just liked them. It was very confusing. I had no idea what was going on. So most guys that I wanted to be friends with, it was just awkward for some reason. And now I know why, because I just literally wanted to be their friend, but instead there was all this weirdness between it because I didn't even know who I was or why I was interested in them, you know? So that was interesting to think about. Oh, I've just always had this thing. My mom kind of had this too, where we were like kind of jealous about how guys can just kind of pee anywhere. Like, literally, as a woman, I've never been able to pee outside. I know a lot of women can, but it just hasn't worked out for me. I've always just not had a good time trying to do that. I need to practice, but I've just always been like the woman to stand by as a guy was like peeing in the alley, and then I would have to wait until we found a bathroom. And I hate sitting on a toilet seat. I think it's so gross, and I've never been able to really like hover and squat around the toilet seat to like avoid it. So I always put like toilet paper down in public restrooms, and it just seems so much easier to be a dude and just pee standing up. And yeah, I think I've always had a jealousy factor about that, which is funny. Okay, so this was another thing. I think too, like, I've always known I'm a boy, and when I was a kid, like when I was wearing my towel around my waist, I didn't really understand the concept of like what gender was and which gender I was. And as I learned more about men and had different role models in my life, subconsciously I think I was afraid to be like them because a lot of them were demonstrating toxic masculinity basically. So I was afraid to be a toxic man. If I was born a man, I do believe that I would be more so in that toxic masculinity, and it would feel harder, I think, to get out of it than in the present situation I'm in, because I've seen it from being a woman and I had taken on some toxic masculine traits. Basically, I've been able to heal different parts of me because we all have feminine and masculine energy inside of us that we have to balance. So I had toxic traits for both sides, and I do think I was healing from different sides at different points. And now that I've healed most of my like childhood stuff and anything that I have been conditioned to believe, I'm able to be like my own version of a man instead of having these conditioned toxic traits that I would, project out onto society, basically, is what I'm saying. So it feels good that now I feel comfortable with who I am and I love myself, and I know that I have learned a lot of things and have changed, that I can be the best guy that I know to be, instead of before. If I came out a long time ago, I may have still been under the influence of these subconscious conditionings that I wouldn't even realize, and then it would be harder, I think, to get out of that. I was never comfortable with having my curves, and like I have like a bigger bottom and bigger hips and thighs, like I said, and I just was never comfortable with that whole idea of being like a curvy woman, like being, really desirable by men. I was never comfortable by that, and I never understood why, because I was like, I should enjoy my body, but I just felt like, don't look at me kind of thing. Oh, I have bigger feet than all the women in my family for some reason, and I was taller than my parents, even though I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'6.5" on a good day. I'm hoping that as my posture improves, I might be a little bit taller, hopefully like 5'7". But I'm a short king, that's cool. And then I have 9.5 to 10 size feet as a woman, and everyone would be like, oh, you have such big feet and stuff, and people would make fun of me. As a man, that's only like an 8.5 to 9, so that's not that big of a feat. But I hope that if I start taking testosterone and my feet grow about half a size, then I'd be like a 9.5, and I think that would be like perfect in between. So I believe that I have these bigger feet for a reason, because literally they came out of nowhere. No one else in my family, all the women in my family has 7.5 to 8.5, and then here I am 9.5 to 10. Where'd that come from? Oh, I've always been annoyed by women's pockets in pants, either leggings that have absolutely no pockets, especially like when I was younger, like in middle school, pockets were like this big. You couldn't even fit your tiny flip phone in there. That was just ridiculous. And they still make them like that. Like for the most part, there's like hardly any women's pants that have big pockets, except now they have like a new line of like cargos and stuff, which is really good because that kind of helped me learn and get more comfortable with wearing men's clothes, because the cargo pants just became in style, and I was like, great. And I started liking like wearing like baggier stuff in general as a woman, so then that made it easier for me when I was like transitioning to wearing men's clothes. But the pockets in women's pants has just always drove me crazy, and I'm like, why is this the way this is? I just want to put all my stuff in these pockets and be good, but you can't. I would always have to have someone else holding stuff for me or have to bring a bag, and I hated that. Oh, I remember like when I first learned what transgender and transsexual were. It was like maybe in college, maybe high school, and I just remember being like, okay, transgender means that they are portraying themselves as the gender that they feel they are, but they don't have surgery. And then transsexual is when they have surgery to like affirm their gender. And I just would like remember that so that I could know that for any reason it comes up in casual conversation, or if people talk about it, I know what they're talking about. And it just resonated. It just resonated on a deep level that I couldn't even explain, because I learned about all of that and kept track of it before I even really knew much more about the LGBTQ community, and I just believe that that's because I knew on a deeper level that I was trans. I did mention this in another video, the whole birth control thing, how it like made my hormones more like a man's. I felt more comfortable in my body during those 10 years that I was on birth control, and then the moment I got off birth control, I turned into a very emotional being, and I gained a lot of weight, and that's when I got diagnosed with PCOS. And so I just felt like everything was like happening at once, and my body was just confused, and I went into a depression, and then found out I had ADHD, and this was all during like my Saturn return around the age of 27. So it's just like it all happened at once. It was huge chaos in my life, and it all started because I got off birth control. So that was pretty crazy. I won't be going back on birth control because I think the next steps are for me to be on testosterone. I think I needed to be off of it in order to heal the things I needed to heal as a woman, because if I didn't heal those things, I don't think I'd be here right now talking about being trans. I would still be in that woman overly emotional state. Thanks for listening. I hope this helps somebody. I really enjoyed making this video. It's helpful to talk this stuff out loud even when you already have come out, because it's very affirming to just know that there have been things in your life that have happened that make sense with the choices you have made, and writing them all down and saying them out loud just makes you realize that this has always been you, and it was just a matter of time before you figured it out. So I think that's really cool. And if you're interested at all in getting an intuitive tarot reading or a meditation coaching session, my link is in the description. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.